What is going on, everybody? Welcome here to episode 5 of Arizona Cardinals franchise. We are still here in the 2024 season, and we have some decisions to make simulation-wise. Now, right now, we are currently 4 games into this season, and we are 3-1 in those games. However, our simulation is 2-6, and so we've reached a point now where we have a pretty tough schedule coming up with the 49ers, the Lions, and then the 49ers again. And so I would love to hop into one of these games. However, I don't want to hop into this game, potentially lose the next 2 games in simulation, because I feel like that's going to be kind of a waste of time, and we can kind of move forward if it's starting to look like we're not going to be making the playoffs this season. Now, even if we do win out, right, 10-7 doesn't guarantee you a playoff spot. So let's go ahead and simulate this game. Again, I mentioned how I wanted to play in some more of these competitive games throughout the season, but when your team is not even competitive, right, and we're sitting at 2-6 in simulation, that might just be a sign. So if we can pick up a huge win here, I may reconsider. But here we go. Cardinals against the 49ers. We take another L. However, we do get our first weekly award here of the season. It's Zaven Collins, who got 6 tackles, 1 sack, and an interception. I really want to try and mold this team into the schemes that Jonathan Gannon wants to run. I'm going to keep the schemes all the same, maybe not the playbooks. This could be some foreshadowing, because I've been very disappointed with our offensive production so far this season, at least in simulation. We've had a lot of great moments in gameplay. I know that you guys have been keeping up, but it has been equally underwhelming as it has been exciting in simulation. So let's move on. Let's continue to simulate. Detroit is 7-6. This is a manageable game, but we get the loss again. And I mean, look at this. We are averaging 18.4 points per game. We are the 31st in passing yards per game. Oh boy. And our defense, certainly isn't the problem. And again, this is why I didn't want to hop into that first 49ers game, because, what's the point when your record looks like this? We're going to take a look at the stats at the end of the season as well. For morale at this point, can we just win this game? We find ourselves now at the bottom of the NFC West. And again, part of it might have to do with the fact that we have a lot of inexperienced players, guys who are still rookies. Man, this is tough. And now Grover Stewart's overall is not even going up because he's down in morale. This is sad. This is really sad. I'm going to upgrade Jalen Wright, and then we'll just auto the rest from there. Hopefully Jalen Wright is still having a good season in simulation, because, we've seen some massive games out of him. We understand what his potential is. He has an extremely high ceiling here, but coaching at the moment is severely letting us down, as we are now 5-10 on the season. Hell, make it 5-11. I'm not even going to upgrade players heading into this last week. It doesn't seem to be making a difference anyway. And so we're going to have a high draft pick again as we lose. Wow, certainly ending the season on a high note, aren't we? My, oh my. Wow. Okay. So there's Patrick Queen. We're going to try and get him to be a scheme fit as well. He does get the upgrade point, but not the scheme fit just yet. And then we're going to upgrade Khyree Jackson, our young cornerback. He's had a shaky first year, but honestly, considering where we drafted him, what overall he is, not too bad of a season. So let's upgrade the rest of these guys. Now, before we head into the offseason, let's take a look here at our stats. I am honestly so nervous to see what these numbers look like. Kyler Murray didn't even throw for 3,000 yards. Not only that, but he turned over the ball a ton. Wow. That is depressing, guys. Clayton Tune got in for 1 play and threw for 6 yards apparently, so I don't know. Maybe he's the future, but boy, it looked so good early on in the season, the decision to keep Kyler Murray. And we were kind of stuck with Kyler Murray anyway because of the contract that we have attached to him at the moment. And I haven't looked at the numbers yet, but it might be that way heading into next year, maybe a couple years down the road as well. Jalen Wright had a phenomenal season, going for over 1,000 yards and scoring 5 touchdowns in the process. Certainly one of our best players on the offensive side of the ball. Xavier Legette led the team in yardage. Again, I don't know how much, we can necessarily judge these receivers because apparently, they didn't have a good quarterback anyway, throwing them the ball. Also, I did get a notification. Sorry if you guys heard that. It's tough, right? The guys are extremely talented, and the guy under center just wasn't cutting it. And, maybe part has to do with the offensive coordinator as well, who I'll tell you right now is not going to be sticking around with this team. And then Trey McBride had a decent season as well. I expect him to keep his star development. But that's the thing too, Malik Neighbors, he was a superstar. These are not superstar numbers, and so I wouldn't be surprised if he goes down to a star, which would be so underwhelming for factors that are not even his fault. It's essentially like Garrett Wilson in a sense, his situation in New York. Paris Johnson did not have a good year. Cooper Beebe struggled as a rookie. Patrick Queen looks like he was a great signing here in the offseason. 116 total tackles, 6 TFLs, 2 sacks, and 2 interceptions, as well as 7 pass deflections. So he was definitely our leading tackler. Leading us in tackles for loss was Bryce Huff. So Bryce Huff, we brought him over with the anticipation that he was going to be a big-time pass rusher, which he wasn't, but was our most effective guy in the backfield. And I would assume a lot of these TFLs came on running plays. So that's huge. That is great production out of a free agent edge rusher that we got. Chris Barnes, also 15 tackles for loss. That is good. Zaven Collins as well. And then Arik Armstead. All 4 guys with double-digit tackles for loss. Taking a look at the sack department, we really need to upgrade our pass rushing. Our run stopping seems to be really good, but our pass rushing, when Zaven Collins is leading you guys as an outside linebacker in this scheme with 4 sacks, yeah, that's an issue. So we're definitely going to look to address that edge rusher position this offseason. Forcing turnovers. Look at this. We have a quantity of guys, so many different guys getting their hands on the football this year. You love to see it. That is something that you would like to see translate into the next season. And it's something that I'm anticipating year in, year out from a guy who is a defensive-minded head coach. You need this, right? This is going to be the backbone of your team overall. Kaimi Fairbairn had a really good year, only missing 2 field goals on the season. You can't ask for a much better campaign than that. And then an average of 51 yards a punt, net average of 47.5 for Corey Bojorquez. That's some good punting right there. Kick returning wise, Xavier Legette had probably one of the most memorable plays here of the 2024 season with his 1 kickoff return. We're going to definitely keep him back there as a returner as we continue on in this franchise, and was also a pretty solid punt returner as well, despite not getting in the end zone. But that's okay. That's a tough ask. So, yeah, we sucked very, very bluntly. And what did simulation go, right? Because we went 3-1. So that means that simulation went 2-11 without our help. And again, this is a talented team. So I don't know. Kyler Murray is certainly holding this team back. This offensive coordinator is as well. Let's go ahead here and simulate to the offseason. And this is going to be huge because we're going to get to see the depth traits of our players as well. And we'll also take a look at that recap of the season as well to see, who got awards, who won the Super Bowl, so on and so forth. So the Ravens win the Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson gets his first ring. Patrick Mahomes is the league MVP. Mike McCarthy wins Coach of the Year. The Cowboys in the Super Bowl, Mike McCarthy winning Coach of the Year. This is where the realism factor is not too good here in Madden. Patrick Mahomes wins Offensive Player of the Year. Micah Parsons wins Defensive Player of the Year. Caleb Williams, to no surprise, is the Offensive Rookie of the Year. And Jerzon Newton wins Defensive Rookie of the Year for the Buffalo Bills. I don't know where he went in this draft here in the franchise, but I know that he was a 2nd-round pick in real life. So good for him. Good for him. Now let's take a look at our upgrade points here. Anyone here? We have asterisk, 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 asterisk. I have no idea who you are, my guy, but welcome to the team. You must have been on the practice squad or something. We're going to just auto upgrade those guys. And we are here in staff week. And I mean, this has got to be one of the easiest decisions I've made in my life. Kelly Stevens, thank you for your time. Not really. You were complete dog shit. You are no longer the offensive coordinator for the Arizona Cardinals. So we're going to fire you there. Our defensive coordinator will stay in the building. You know, for the most part, I am going to just keep this defensive coordinator here for the entirety of this franchise because it is Jonathan Gannon leading the team and it is his defense after all. So, I mean, unless we have like the 32nd defense in the league, like maybe I'll consider it. The way that this is going to work is I'm going to hire guys based on their playbook, on their respective side of the ball. So here we're looking for an offensive coordinator. If we hire Thomas Peters, we'll use the Atlanta playbook. You know, let's use another example here. I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to take a gamble. I am going to hire Thomas Peters. I was using him as an example at first, but I've never ran Atlanta playbook. I feel like it would be interesting to just try and experiment what we have here with this. I'm just going to upgrade the first attribute in each one. So he's a skill point. He's more of a well-rounded offensive coordinator. So Thomas Peters will be leading the way here. We're going to be running Atlanta playbook here. And again, the reason why I'm doing that, right, is because, I mean, it's not a super complex offense passing the football. I was really debating between this and the Shanahan offense, but we know that the Shanahan offense is really demanding in terms of their passing game and quick processing, and it just doesn't seem like at this stage of his career, Kyler Murray is going to be able to do that for us. Everyone says that it is a quarterback-friendly system, and it is, but you have to make a lot of great timing throws over the middle of the field. You have to be good at the play-action game, and it's just not necessarily a fit for Kyler Murray, whereas here, for the Atlanta playbook, we're going to just be able to ground and pound this thing. And we're going to also have, I would assume, some option plays because they were running this with Desmond Ridder or Marcus Mariota for the past few years. I mean, this fits what Kyler Murray wants to do. So I'm really taking the personnel that we have at the current moment into consideration when making this hiring. Now, lucky for us, Malik Neighbors did stay as a superstar despite the down year. However, Laumea does go down to a normal. So once again, the offensive line becomes a huge priority heading into the 2025 offseason. Excuse me. I felt like I was about to burp. Khyree Jackson does go down in depth trade as well. Chris Barnes, Arik Armstead. So again, like, you have to anticipate these kind of things happening because, I mean, for one, we went 5-12. Like, I can't imagine too many devs would go up after a season that looks like that. But here we go. It's a fresh new start here in the 2025 season. It starts here in the offseason. We saw how pivotal it was for us building our team last year. Now, there's a lot of responsibilities heading into this year. And so it's going to be a lengthy video, but it's going to be a fun one because this team is going to get better. Now, let's take a look at some guys we can cut. First off, DJ Humphries, $16 million for a guy who just regressed and went down to a normal. Yeah, without hesitation, you are gone. We just freed up a ton of cap space with that move. Jalen Thompson, we're going to keep, as well as these guys. So, and see, this is the problem, right? Kyler Murray still has 4 more years under contract. He's making $272 million. And if we cut him today, we will save $2 million. And not only will we only save $2 million if we cut Kyler Murray, but we will also suffer a penalty of $43 million. So we don't have much of an option here, which is why I'm really trying my best to hire a coordinator, which we did, that will hopefully fit the scheme and the strength of Kyler Murray. Okay, here we go. A huge decision to make here. Do we keep Budda Baker around? And like, again, overall wise, this is our best defender. So I'm certainly going to have to think about giving him the money. Grover Stewart is still interested in returning to us. And again, with him, I mean, you're just getting a solid run stopper, but that is a really pricey number considering his age. So I do think I'm going to let him test free agency. Same here with Kaiser White. Kaiser White was really good for us. But he is getting up there in age, right? And we are trying to get younger while also getting better with this football team. Now, Corey Bojorquez is interested in re-signing with us. I don't mind bringing him back on a 2-year deal if he wants this. Yes, he will take it. Good. And I would like to bring Kaimi back as well, but he has no interest in coming back here, and I'm not going to give him more money than he wants. So Budda Baker is going to be the last guy that I'm going to try and bring back, and I'm hesitant, right? Because he's like not interested in coming back here at all, right? He doesn't like the scheme fit, and he doesn't like the winning record of the head coach, which, I mean, there have been some struggles with Jonathan Gannon here to start. So this is a tough decision for me, right? Because we want to get younger, but this guy has definitely been a staple of this defense. What I am going to do is I'm going to throw a low-risk deal at him, but I am going to bring the year back down to 3, and hopefully he takes this here. So we're going to offer him this. Budda Baker is back with the Arizona Cardinals. Look, there are certain players, and we talked about this, where Kyzir White was getting up there in age, and they're both 29 years old, but you know, one is Budda Baker, the other one, in all respect, is Kyzir White. So we do bring Budda Baker back. We do have to give him a little bit more money, but what he means to this team, you know, not just as a football player, but in the locker room, as a captain, we're going to enjoy having Budda Baker back for sure. Okay, let's head here. Whoa. Okay, into the first stage of free agency. Nick Chubb would be an absolutely fantastic addition, but even DeAndre Swift, but do I dare bring in one of these guys when we have Jalen Wright? I don't think so. I think we have to let Jalen Wright develop. I mean, he showed so much promise throughout this past season. So, I mean, Nick Chubb's not even interested in signing with us anyway. So, we're going to move on. Keenan Allen would certainly be an interesting one as well. How about that? Rondale Moore, the guy that we just traded away to the Miami Dolphins, doesn't re-sign. So we just got Brandon Jones for free, essentially. Heck, we should bring him back and then just trade him again, right? Why not? Okay, so what I am going to do is I am going to sign Garrett Bowles to a 1-year deal. Yes, this is a little bit pricey, but we did just cut DJ Humphries. And like DJ Humphries was making this kind of money last year, but the difference was he was like 79 overall and he was a star. Now he's 79 overall and he's a normal. So I do like that star depth trait here with Garrett Bowles. He is also 4 overalls higher, so it's worth the price to me. We're going to continue to look to upgrade that offensive line. Quinn Miners, I mean, this wouldn't be a bad one, but he has absolutely no interest in signing with us, and there are a lot of teams looking for Quinn Miners to play for their team. So I'm not even going to try and enter into the Quinn Miners sweepstakes. Excuse me. Okay. Left end, I mean, we're still looking for some pass rushers. They're not exactly here. Oh boy. Okay. Let's go ahead here and re-sign Grover Stewart here. We're going to try and get him back on another 1-year deal. Just looking at everyone else, like no one is really interested in playing for this team. And they're also asking for a ton of money. So I at least want to bring in one guy here, right? And if Grover wants to play for our team, I mean, he's still a solid run defender, so I don't mind bringing him in. Okay, Jock would also be a very interesting one to bring in. Khalil Mack, I would bring him in if he was a superstar and X Factor. He's not. I would love to bring in Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Like, this is a guy who is consistently all over the football field, so I am going to try and throw a lot of money at this outside linebacker here. Oh, boy. I mean, at a certain point, right, it just becomes like way too much money. Who knows how much Indianapolis is giving him. Let's try and bump up this deal to a 7-year deal, see where that takes us here. So that makes us competitive, but I do want to exactly see the numbers here. If we do give him this, how much money are we giving him? And that's close to $23 million. Like, look at the cap hits as the season goes on, and like, he's a star player. So I am going to refrain from signing Jock. I mean, I know we do have the cap space for it, but I would like to allocate it into different positions if necessary. This is a great example, right? I mean, we have a couple good corners here in free agency. I wouldn't mind giving money to Greg Newsome. Like, I think that this is an underrated cornerback, and we're a team that desperately needs the help. Now, we are nowhere on his radar. This is a guy that I wouldn't mind giving a little extra cash. So we will give him this contract. I still want to keep him on a 5-year deal, but we are nowhere to be seen. Oh boy. So I might just put in our original offer for him, but that's not good. I mean, I would love to have him on our football team. Let's see, Tyrann Mathieu here. I mean, we just really don't need safeties at all, right? And honestly, it looks like a great thing that we brought back Budda Baker because it's not a super intriguing safety class. So let's go in here. See, this is where the debate starts, because now it's just like, damn, do we go for Jock? Because I mean, he's more interested in playing for us than Greg Newsome is. Look, I'm gonna give him a big deal because we desperately need cornerback help, someone to pair up with Nate Wiggins in the secondary. I'm gonna give him a ton of money. If he takes it, I'll be ecstatic. If he doesn't, we move on from there. Now let's get a kicker in the building that actually wants to play for us. I do want a guy who's relatively high overall. That's going to be Matt Gay here. We'll give him a 2-year deal as well. Matt Gay, honestly, is probably one of the more underrated kickers in the league, so I don't mind signing him. But this is what our free agent class looks like. Hopefully, we are able to sign everyone. Just not a super intriguing free agency class. And on top of that, there's just a lot of guys who just don't really want to play for us, like Greg Newsome, but we're going to try anyway. So let's evaluate these offers here. And we get all of them except for Greg Newsome. So we just have a couple of guys here who are just on 1-year deals. Now, I want to see like Jock. Yeah, I mean, he took that massive deal from Indianapolis, and I was just not willing to give him that much money considering that he's only a star. Like, I would imagine that he could turn into a superstar and X Factor at some point, but that's a huge risk you're taking right there. So let's simulate to the draft and take a look at what our roster looks like now heading into the draft. All right, before we do that, let's take a look at our draft picks. And we certainly don't have the quantity that we did last year, but we are going to be picking in the top 10 this year with the number 8 overall pick. And we do have each of our picks from every round here in this draft. So again, a lot is up in the air with what exactly we can be doing with these picks. But one thing I do know for sure is that we're going to get better, right, throughout this draft. So I'm excited with that. Now, who exactly do we want to scout here, right? We could take a look at one of the quarterbacks. I mean, Chase Mellon is here. Does he get to us at that point? These are all things that we have to think about. So I can't imagine Mellon would be there, right, at the number 8 overall pick. That's why I'm going to take a look at this mock draft here to see where exactly some of these players are going. And yeah, like Mellon is projected to go as the number 2 quarterback in this year's draft. Now, again, just because we have Kyler Murray doesn't mean that I'm ruling out the possibility of drafting a quarterback. I wouldn't sign another guy because that's just money stacked upon much more money. But again, it just doesn't seem like a realistic chance that we go up and get a quarterback like that. I'm also not going to allow myself to trade up in drafts because I do feel like trading in this game is not super realistic, right? Like in that situation, I'm probably going to have to give up a ton of picks and, you know, they'd probably take it for significantly less. So let's take a look here. Who exactly do we want to bring in for some private workouts? This cornerback looks really good, but also this cornerback looks really good as well. LaShawn Oden. So LaShawn Oden and Sean Allison are certainly 2 guys that I want to bring into the building. Those 2 guys look absolutely phenomenal. Tight end. Not a huge fan of drafting a tight end here in the top 10. I just don't feel like that's one of those positions worthy of it. Who do we want to go with now? And again, there's another great cornerback here. I mean, I think that just might be the way to go. So that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to take a look at 3 cornerbacks, try and get a little bit more intel on them, as this is a huge position of need for us, as it's really Nate Wiggins and everyone else. Like Khyree Jackson did show promise here and there, but he lost his dev trade as well. And so I don't want to leave our future at the cornerback spot up for chance. Again, we tried to make a push for a guy like Greg Newsome. He just was not having it at all, was not interested in coming to this team. So here we are. Welcome to the NFL draft. Let's simulate these first few picks to see how the board goes. Mario Jones goes number 1 overall. That is a surprise to no one. And Chase Mellon follows up, going to BYU. That's really all I wanted to see. Taking a look here, again, we really want to build this team with speed. And Sean Allison doesn't necessarily have that here. LaShawn Oden does have better stats. But again, it's that speed that I'm really thinking about here that is just not popping off the screen like I would really want it to. Here's Kerry Harris. If we take him, right, I mean, like we've got to trade back. So again, we would get quality corners at this spot. And I just feel like Crocker could be a really good player. Do we just trade away McBride? What do we want to do here? Holy crap, so many decisions to make. And that's the thing too, I talked about this, like the tight end position is one where it's like you don't necessarily need to take it high in the draft. And I honestly don't think you shouldn't. But I also have to balance the fact that this is Madden. You know, it's a little bit different. You know, this isn't like the real NFL. And a good tight end could really go a long way in this game. This guy is just an elite athlete. I'm going to take Jaron Crocker out of West Virginia here. He just looks like a specimen. I mean, elite speed, elite jumping, elite acceleration. That is exactly what we're looking for. We're looking to build with this team with speed. Here we go. Jaron Crocker, number 8 overall. He has 90 speed and 90 acceleration as a tight end. Holy crap. I would have never imagined that I would have been taking a tight end over a cornerback here in the draft. But again, we want to draft best player available. We have a vision for what we want this team to look like, and it's going to be built with guys like that. We have completely, in the matter of 2 years, revamped this entire skill position group. Okay, what do we want to do here with our second pick? Keenan Cunningham is still here, 22 years old. I mean, I wouldn't mind picking him up, honestly. A press, B zone coverage, B catching. Okay. We have some options to juggle through. A lot of good players on the board, though, I will say that. Oh, TJ Wright, that could be interesting. Not my ideal quarterback prospect, standing at 5'11". He's about an inch taller than me in real life. Oh my goodness, but he looks fantastic. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, guys. I might go with the quarterback there, guys. I mean, we're sitting here at the top of the second round. He is 5'11", but one thing that stands out to me, right? Good spiral on his passes, stands tall in the pocket, and is always aware of pressure. Does well to avoid sacks by throwing the ball away, loves to run and play outside of structure and multi-angle quick motion, and look at this. Now, the one thing that is holding me back from, or actually there's two things, right? One, the throw power. I love a guy who has elite throw power. I mean, why wouldn't you, right? And so that's where I am slightly concerned. But also he's 5'11". And like, I just feel like we are essentially grabbing another Kyler Murray, and I just don't know if that's worth it. Like, that's a big chance that you're taking there. And Brian Lowry actually looks all right as well. He has elite throw power, but he is certainly much more of a pocket passer. I think that's too risky. I don't think that it's going to be worth it taking the quarterback, just because we do have a quarterback in place right now. Maybe not the one that we want, but I don't want to just take a quarterback for the sake of taking one. Like, I think that's irresponsible. And if I'm not 100% sold on this guy being the future of the franchise, let's not do it. I feel like I've justified myself enough where, you know, like, it's understandable. Like, you don't have to if you don't want to. Okay. I've decided what I'm going to do is I am going to go with Jermaine Crawford here. He is 312 pounds, so I would move him into defensive tackle here. But, you know, I really like the fact that he has elite strength and also has good play recognition, good pursuit, and is also a tackling as well. So, 21 years old, we are going to select Jermaine Crawford. He is a normal, but that's okay. You know, one thing I always talk about is you bring in these good athletes, you always have a chance to develop these guys and watch them improve in depth trait over the years. So, although he's a normal, I am far from giving up on him yet. I mean, he is just getting started, and I think that the sky is the limit for him. Again, it was a really tough decision for me, but we really do need some interior defensive line help, so that's exactly what we got there. Alright, so I completely changed my mind. I didn't feel confident about any of the cornerbacks, but I do think that Emin Drummond does look like a really fantastic prospect. I mean, he has multiple elite traits as well, and I know what you might be thinking, hey, we don't necessarily need an outside linebacker, but I do think that the linebacker position, after just observing what we saw in year one, I mean, we need these guys to be very versatile, good as pass rushers, good in pass protection as well. And so that's exactly what we're going to go with here. And I guess my pick is justified here with the hidden development trait of Emmett Drummond. But that's how we're going to finish off this draft class. I'm not going to do the day 3 picks. We're going to leave that to the scouts and my assistant GM, whoever that might be. So he's going to go ahead and take care of those picks for me. But again, 2 out of 3 hiddens. I can't complain about that. This offseason is far from over. And we are going to continue on and see how we can continue to make this roster much better. Okay, here we go. This is our draft recap. And guys, I I think I made the right decision because Jaron Crocker is 81 overall. Oh my goodness. I'm going to lose it. I'm actually going to lose it. We got the best player in the draft at number 8 overall. That is absolutely fantastic. So let me go make that adjustment to the lineup right now and see what our starting lineup is looking like heading into week 1. Okay, here we go. So here at week 1, and this is going to change because we are going to be trading Trey McBride away. This is what the week 1 roster does look like for us. Defensively, this is what our starting lineup looks like, with Crawford moved in from edge rusher to play defensive tackle at the 315 pounds that he is. And now this is an interesting one because I think I am going to try and trade away Chris Barnes as well, because we do have a new linebacker in spot, a younger, a quicker one. So let's try and trade him away. You know, what kind of draft capital can we get? Can we get upgrades, along this team as well in terms of the roster? David Ojabo would be interesting. I think I'm just going to go with the draft capital here. I mean, also bringing in a good backup running back wouldn't be bad as well. So Kenneth Gainwell would be an interesting one to consider. But I do like it being the Jalen Wright show. So what I am going to do is I'm going to take Bo Melton, a 5th and a 7th for Chris Barnes. I mean, you're not going to expect a ton in return for a player like that. All right, now we're going to be taking a look at offers for Trey McBride here. Taking a look here, I mean, nothing crazy. And I guess, I think part of it too is like the numbers that he put up last year was not fantastic, right? So it's understandable that teams wouldn't want to give up too much for a player like this. But one offer that did stand out to me was Cam Smith, a 3rd and a 7th round pick, because not only would Cam Smith be a starter for us, but we would also acquire a 3rd round pick, which is higher than anyone else is giving us. So we will still be able to address that cornerback position while also getting some draft capital and getting rid of Trey McBride in the process in favor of Jaron Crocker. So this is what the 2024 official starting lineup looks like now that we have everyone off that we didn't want. But Cam Smith is now a starter, as I mentioned before here. We do have a hidden safety as well, so that's going to be something to keep in mind. But yeah, I mean, this is looking pretty good right now. Again, hopefully simulation treats us better. Hopefully the playbook change makes a difference too. This is the auto-generated 2026 NFL draft class. I guess it's never too early to look towards the next draft, but that is that, and exiting this offseason. But yeah, I mean, this was the offseason here. We're going to go ahead and upgrade our players heading into next episode, episode 6 of the Arizona Cardinals franchise. I know that the offseason didn't necessarily go exactly the way we wanted to. It wasn't as perfect as it was last season. But you know what? If we can start to string together some wins this year, we're going to be able to pick up more free agents. Hopefully at some point down the road, we are able to get rid of Kyler Murray without facing too much of a penalty. But again, this is the worst team in the NFL. It is going to be a year-by-year process. And we have to just trust that the process that we are taking right now is the one that will lead us to glory and get the Arizona Cardinals their first Super Bowl in franchise history. But thank you guys for watching. Most importantly, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And until then, I will see you guys all later. Peace.